Our emotions and the conditions of our heart often operate in the background. We're not even consciously aware. We think we're acting very logically, reasonably, rationally, but what's really driving us is some strong emotions. And if we are not aware of that, we'll make all sorts of terrible decisions and we'll claim we're acting rationally when in fact jealousy, anger, unforgiveness, bitterness, those are the things that are really moving us. And if you don't come to the point where you can see that, that will be like an invisible puppeteer jerking you around, manipulating you, and damaging your relationships and maybe destroying your marriage.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
I think too, I mean, you've talked a lot about understanding yourself and understanding your spouse. I think that's really key because I know early in my marriage, a book that was really profound for us was The 5 Love Languages. And because it opened up for me, kind of to your point, just that she might be feeling loved in a different way than me. And so then I had to figure that out. And it wasn't, I mean, we weren't necessarily having conflict, but we were definitely, there was going to be conflict down the road because we were communicating differently. But once we got to know our strengths and then our spouse's strengths, that conflict was more easily dissolved. So,
and that's a big part of what we call other awareness and self-awareness. We know both. You know, years ago, Marty, I read an article in Time magazine, actually. It was called Of Poets and Engineers. And the point of the thing was some people think and communicate poetically in broad generalizations, and other people think and communicate very specifically like an engineer. So in the early part of our marriage, you know, Corlette might say to me, "You never spend any time with the kids anymore." And that's the poet speaking. The engineer goes, "Hold it, that's not accurate. A week ago, I spent an hour with Jeff on Saturday afternoon." And it took a long time for me to realize, to reinterpret when my wife said, "You never spend any time," or "You always do this," that what she's really saying is, "Ken, I don't think you're spending as much time with our son as he needs." And so we learn to reinterpret. And so those are the little things. The earlier you can develop those habits. You know, another one, for example, is the difference between fixers and feelers. Again, I'm an engineer. And so as soon as my wife describes some situation to me, as soon as I have just the general outline of it, even if I don't have all the details, I'll say, "Hold it, Corlette, I don't need any more information. Here's what you need to do." I'm the fixer. And what she really wanted was not my advice, because she's smart. She can figure out actually most of these things herself. She just wanted someone who was empathetic, compassionate, and cared. And so again, I'm sort of slow. It took me quite a few years to learn those things. But since I have grown in those areas, and Corlette as well, we just enjoy each other so much more.
Have you seen, that reminds me, have you seen that YouTube video of, I think it's called It's Not About the Nail?
Yeah, I used that a couple of days ago in a seminar.
Yeah, and it's the fixer and feeler. I mean, it's one guy just wants to fix it and she just wants to be heard. And there's conflict because
that's right.
Because they always get a good laugh when I watch that one.
Yeah, that's right.
As a rule, men would be fixers, right?
Typically, yeah. There's some general trends you can point to. There's exceptions. Sometimes I've got another friend whose wife is definitely the meticulous fixer, and he's definitely the feeler. So there's exceptions. It's just understanding which category do I fit in, which category does my spouse fit in.
Yeah. In your book, you talk about what kind of, at least I remember in the comic book, what kind of shoes you put on. Do you run to conflict or do you run from it? And for us, we've identified that more as being a reactor or a processor. And I tend to be the processor, and my wife tends to want to talk out a situation. How do you help people be more in the middle on that?
Well, it's a little bit like, in Montana, you've got to learn, if your car pulls to the right or the left when you jam on the brakes, especially if you're on icy roads. Because if you're not aware of that and you jam the brakes on, you can go in the ditch. So a big part of it is learning to read your car, know what your car does. So same thing about ourselves is it's a self-awareness component from our relational wisdom course. Is, am I one who likes to escape from conflict, avoid conflict, pretend like it's not there, denial, leave relationships? Or am I a person who actually likes the thrill of the competition of conflicts? I'm an attacker. I want to argue, debate, show you wrong, etc. And if I tend to be an escaper, it's like I need to learn on my car. If the car pulls to the left, I need to automatically have that steering wheel and counteract that tendency, or the other way. Now, there's also people like me that can be both. I can avoid conflict as much as I can because I don't like conflict. So I'll avoid it as much as I can. But once I'm backed into a corner, bing, I can go clear to the other side. I think psychologists call that passive aggressive.
Okay.
And so I have to guard against both of those tendencies to go either way. But a lot of this, again, it's self-awareness. What are my tendencies? Yeah. And the more I can look at myself, we call this, part of this is uncovering the invisible puppeteer. Our emotions and the conditions of our heart often operate in the background. We're not even consciously aware. We think we're acting very logically, reasonably, rationally. But what's really driving us is some strong emotions. And if we are not aware of that, we'll make all sorts of terrible decisions and we'll claim we're acting rationally when in fact, jealousy, anger, unforgiveness, bitterness, those are the things that are really moving us. And if you don't come to the point where you can see that, that will be like an invisible puppeteer jerking you around, manipulating you, and damaging your relationships and maybe destroying your marriage.
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link. Something that keeps coming to my mind, Ken, does conflict get easier with age as we understand ourselves better? Or can we in regards to like my kids, can I really teach them at a young age to understand them and how they respond and be aware of others to minimize it?
Well, I would say the earlier you start, the better, because habits are hard things to break. Just for example, I've done 600 divorce mediations, and in a large number of them, I've talked to men who've told me they never heard their father admit he was wrong. So if you're raised in a family you never saw the head of the family admit is wrong, you may carry that tendency into your family and never be able to say to your wife, honey, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Your kids may never see you do that. So the earlier you can show them and not only teach them, but demonstrate that we need to confess when we sin, when we fail. And the Bible's clear on that. He who conceals his sins does not prosper. Whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy. So the earlier you can teach these things, the better, but it is also a lifelong process. It's not like, oh, by 12 years old, we've got this nailed down, move on to other things. I'm 71 and I'm still learning, Marty. I'm still learning. I'm glad to say that my tendencies are more positive. I'm quicker to admit I'm wrong. I'm quicker and better at reading my wife.
Sure.
So there's been this, but the theologians call that progressive sanctification. But how much better it is to do as much of that early in life to be a good model to your kids. Because I can tell you, two of the most painful things you ever do, number one is go through divorce yourself, which is one of the most devastating things anyone can ever experience. But right close to that is to watch your children go through divorce. And so learning and teaching and practicing and modeling these things can save you from enormous amount of grief later in your life.
That's really good. Can we talk for a little bit on the business? I mean, it's super easy and applicable in the family situation, but on the business side, it's similar, right? Like this can all be
Very
preventable.
much. Very much. In fact, we do a lot of training now with businesses. And we've developed actually we call a values-based or secular version of a relational wisdom course.
Okay.
So we can go into any business, teach the basic principles of relational wisdom and conflict resolution. And then the employer can offer his employees the ability to go to our online course for much deeper learning, because we don't try to do the whole course in just a couple hours. It's just too much information, but we'll do an introduction, and then the employer gets by seat at the table for all of his employees, and they can go to our RW Academy and they can choose whether they want to do the secular course, which applies to all faiths and worldviews, or if they identify as a Christian, they can take the faith-based course. And these principles are incredibly valuable in businesses. We provide our employers with some studies, one of which it shows the negative side of conflict, shows that when an employee goes through a divorce or separation, the employer loses on average 25% of their productivity for at least 2 years.
Wow.
Poor appearance, distraction, coming in late, health issues, drinking, all sorts of things. And that typically amounts to about $8,300 per year. So when an employee goes through a divorce or real serious marital problems, an employer can take a hit of $16,000. That's huge. On the other side, when you teach these kind of skills to your employees, and these are skills they not only use at work with their supervisor, coworkers, customers, and clients, which makes your company more productive, they take these principles home at night. They have a more stable, pleasant, positive home life. In the morning, instead of a big fight with their 15-year-old, they have a pleasant breakfast, hug their spouse, kiss their kids, come to the office, they're focused, they're productive. And what those studies show that this kind of training, on average, produces a return of $1.50 to $6.85 for every dollar spent on training. Now that's a massive return on investment. It's massive. And so, we have more and more companies all around the country that are seeing the value of this, and we're just working with them. I just got another invitation an hour ago for a group of CEOs down in Atlanta that want to bring these into their companies.
And I can really see it with technology kind of being a time suck now, where we're not learning to interact with people as much. And so I can see it being a real need in the future when suddenly we are, people that aren't used to interactions are suddenly thrown into it and don't have a clue. So,
well, when you hear about people breaking an engagement with a text message, I mean, for goodness sakes. And so, there's a lot of young people who are what I would call relationally challenged.
Yeah.
Well, older people too. I mean, I work with 70-year-olds who are relationally challenged, but we can be really relationally challenged, and social media, I think, is a contributing factor. So again, that's where learning, if I'm going to have a difficult conversation, I vastly prefer doing it face to face. I've actually gotten on an airplane and flown to Phoenix in one case to sit down and have lunch with a dissatisfied client. And I just knew it was important for me to spend the time and the money to sit down face to face. And because face to face in person, you get voice inflection, body language, facial expressions, read their eyes, you get all this other information. And that meeting turned out beautifully. Next best to me would be a Zoom call, because you can at least see some facial expressions. Next one would be a phone call. You got voice inflections you can at least read. And then it goes downhill from there. Text messages, emails, those things are really, instead of conversation, those are just repeated messages back and forth. I send information, you send information, but it doesn't nearly have the nuances of at least a telephone conversation or a Zoom call. So our technology, it can be a blessing in some ways. I can teach people in in Uganda. I can teach pastors conference in
Sure.
Uganda without leaving Montana, and that's great. But it can also inhibit meaningful personal relationships too.
So you think if Jesus was on the earth today, he would still say, "Go to your brother"?
Oh, absolutely.
He wouldn't say, "Send a text."
No, he would say send it to. He would say go. And part of it is there's another dimension here, of course. Not only are we designed to communicate, Moses, it was described, he knew God face to face. That was like the ultimate intimacy. But not only that, it sends a message. It sends a message. This is so important to me.
Yeah.
I really, and I say that all the time. A lot of people contact me and share something going on, and I often will say this is way too important to talk about, over the phone or in 5 minutes during a break at a seminar. Here's my card. Let's schedule a time to get together. We can talk about something.
If you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com.
No, that's really good. And that's good that you're willing to go out there and do that. There's a book I've read in the past. It's called Never Split the Difference. It's negotiating. Some of the same principles here. But he talks about that, like getting in front of them is so much more powerful. In regards to that. Well, negotiation in a sense is conflict resolution. It's two people have different ideas and you got to figure out the middle. So.
Yep, absolutely.
So you are. I didn't realize you guys were using this with secular business and stuff. So that's really that's powerful.
Not only that, we're going into the military. We've done a lot of teaching on military bases. We're starting to work in the public service sector, city, county, state, federal government. And typically, that's where we just teach our values-based secular material. But 63% of Americans identify as Christians.
Sure.
So even if I go into a city or county level or state level doing training, I would start with the secular material, but I would encourage the employer to give employees the opportunity to follow up with our online course. So when they go there, they can choose for themselves which of the tracks to follow, faith-based or secular. It's basically freedom of choice. What's my worldview and which material suits me the best? So we're doing more and more work at that level as well. There's like 19 million state and local public servants in the United States. Over 19 million.
Wow.
Huge fields that are ripened to harvest.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this topic, and that was why we wanted to get you on, is everybody has conflict, but it takes intentionality, right? You can't just, I can be a processor and pretend it doesn't happen and try to avoid it, but I have to acknowledge it and I have to deal with it and I have to process it, but I also have to learn how to confront it and work through it. And it's, it's just, as much as we want to avoid it and send a text message, it's not the right way. And
that's right.
And we need it for our relationships.
We do. It's vital for productive relationships, career advancement, job performance, stable marriage. I'm so thankful, Corlette. I've been married for 40 years, and it just gets better and better every year. We just want to finish the race together. We want to see our children thrive, our grandchildren thrive. But even another aspect to it, Marty, is we've recently developed also a new program called the PACE program, PACE. It stands for Professional and Community Engagement. And this is material specifically developed to take into secular settings, public colleges, hospitals, public schools, city hall, city employees, military bases, law enforcement. And we're training people around the country to do these seminars. And on the surface, it's very high quality professional development training on emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. But beneath the surface, we build in several opportunities for people to voluntarily choose to explore the gospel of Christ. And as they look at various worldviews, because we talk about the importance of worldviews, whether you're theistic, pantheistic, polytheistic, humanism, whatever, we challenge them to really think through what your worldview is. And as they go through that process of examining various worldviews, one of those worldviews is Christianity. And in that section, there are 5 very compelling gospel presentations in the midst of real life stories of major conflicts resolved by the gospel. And so one of our main goals there is to take our material into venues with people they wouldn't even think of darkening the door of a church. They've never had a positive encounter with Jesus and his gospel. And this is our way of really trying to bring the gospel to more and more communities around our country. So I would hope that maybe even some of the people listening to your podcast would say, man, I would like to be part of something that you can be in your little community of 1,000 people, or you can do it in Los Angeles. All those people need this. So we've just got a very wide diversity of resources and services. And our main goal is finding people in the body of Christ to whom God has given gifts in these areas and help to refine and develop those gifts. And that they would, my thing that drives me is the Matthew 25 parable of the talents, that God has given each one of us gifts and abilities, what you could call talents. Yeah. And someday he's going to ask us, what did you do with it? And if you've got a gift of teaching or peacemaking or just loving or relating, you want to figure out ways you can maximize that gift. So you can come back to the Lord someday and say, Lord, look at this. You gave me the gift of compassion or kindness or resolving conflict or whatever. And look what you allowed me to do with it. And to hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant.
Ken, how do people follow you or find this information? I mean,
you can just come to our website. It's just real simple, rw360.org, rw360.org. And at the top of that homepage, there's 7 terms, drop-down menus, and the most important one would be the resources and the training. There's a lot of other things there, but those are the ones where we have resource sets, training programs, where they can take advantage of those things. All of our training is available online, so they don't have to travel. It's also quite inexpensive compared to secular models. And you can, some of your listeners may want to teach a Sunday school class or small group study in their church. You can literally change the course of people's lives. So if you're just involved in local church, teach a Sunday school class. If you work in a business, get one of our resource sets and ask 4 or 5 of your coworkers to just meet for lunch once a week and go through our secular program on emotional intelligence.
Yeah. That's great. Ken, I've got one more question for you. Okay. And I like books. I see you like books. What is one of your favorite books? And maybe outside the Bible, because that's my favorite too. But what's a book that you could direct people to?
Well, of course, I'd start pointing them to my book, The Peacemaker. Yeah. It's sort of the sum of my life experience, and yep, that's it. That would be a really good one. Oh my goodness. David Powlison was a dear friend and wonderful writer. A lot of his material is available through the Christian Counseling Educational Foundation. Anything by David. I'm older now, so one of my heroes was frankly J.I. Packer. Knowing God is a book that literally changed my life, and probably next to the Bible, I'd say Knowing God by J.I. Packer was totally life-changing. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. He's with the Lord now, but marvelous guy.
Well, that's great. I sure appreciate you being on, and hopefully we can get people to send them your way and resolve some more conflict.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marty. Really appreciate it. God bless you and your work.
Thank you.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.